75% of all human beings spend most of the day looking down. That means 1 in 4 of you will miss an opportunity to meet your spouse. 1 in 4 of you will miss an opportunity to meet your business partner. 1 in 4 of you will miss an opportunity to save someone's life. We've stopped seeing one another. Every morning, an interesting social paradox plays out all over the world. Millions of people board commuter trains and buses. Human beings are one of the most social species on the planet, yet within close proximity of one another, sitting inches away on a train, we routinely ignore each other. Actively stopping to look up has become an accepted behavioral trait. Over half of Americans say they would donate a kidney to a stranger, but only 25% will make eye contact with one. Yet the simple act of making eye contact can profoundly impact a life. Social psychologists would say that we physically look down because we mentally feel that the world is looking down on us. We carry the weight of our bias for reasons like fear, shame, embarrassment, sadness, or our differences like gender, stigmas, or our own self-importance. And some of us have convinced ourselves that we physically look down because it's just how we multitask. We actively seek distractions like our devices and even our hands, and I believe we do this because we have a conscious desire to disappear. Now, clearly, there's reasons we need to look down, like when we practice the art of self-care, when we get a great new pair of shoes, or when we drop something. These days, when I drop something, it's a total nightmare. I actually can't look down right now. A few months ago, I had impromptu cervical spinal surgery. I point to my throat when I say that because the entry point to your cervical spine is through your neck. Part of my recovery forces me to look up and prevents me from looking down. I can't quite bend, lift, or twist very well, and I was bedridden and sedentary for 10 weeks, sleeping upright at a 90-degree angle in a hard brace. Thank God for Alexa. So many trends point a finger at technology as to why we look down. But even when we don't have a device in our hands, our bodies still behave as if we do. It's easy to blame technology. But if you become an observer of life in a way that I have, you'll see our devices are not the only things that help us become invisible. This gift of being forced to look up during my recovery to really see what's happening has significantly changed my life. Nobel Prize-winning scientist Daniel Kahneman stated that in any given day, we experience approximately 20,000 individual moments. These moments last seconds in which our brain records an experience. Now, on average, we walk approximately 5,000 steps per day. This means that every step we take in a given day is an opportunity to experience roughly 4 individual moments, some of which can change our lives. I experienced a moment like this last year during my marathon. Running a marathon is a very solitary experience. Eye contact seems to be optional in this sport. I was ignorant to think that such an insular mental process negates the need for external connection across the finish line. And where I needed it, mile marker 19. Every marathoner knows that once you've run 20 miles nonstop, things just start to break down. Nothing works. Gatorade, Beyonce, nothing. Your body literally starts to break down. It's where the infamous phrase hitting a wall was actually derived. The place where fighting the mental demons to quit and the will to continue seemed insurmountable, and I was in it, deep. Every ounce of support from a Fitbit to cowbells just started to annoy me and chip away. I was quickly running out of options. At around mile 20, within all that noise, I looked up. A 6-year-old little boy came into focus. He was quiet, shy, a little unsure of himself, unlike anyone else on the street. He was holding a sign that read "Free High Fives" and sheepishly extended his hand. Unconsciously, I ran over to him, took him up on his offer, and brushed his hand. It was like receiving a vitamin shot. I could literally feel the dopamine flood my body. It pushed me, and I crossed the line. That connection from another human being in that moment was more powerful than any energy bar. And this was from a total stranger. That little boy had no agenda, no concern for my political viewpoint, race, gender, religion. He just extended his hand because he thought I needed support. He forever changed me and reminded me, when our view isn't burdened by our differences, we can see possibilities. In that moment of feeling lost and uncertain, having one person see me made all the difference in my ability to cross the finish line. The simple act of making eye contact releases oxytocin, gives us a boost. Giving someone a high five releases dopamine, gives us a high and kills pain. Smiling increases endorphins, reduces stress. These are all simple, free, yet powerful social signals that not only trigger this incredible brain activity, but also creates inclusion. For students, a sense of inclusion is associated with a higher GPA. For adults, inclusion is the #1 reason employees choose to stay at their jobs. And the Journal of Psychological Science found that a sense of inclusion can come from something as simple as eye contact from a stranger. Yet still, the vast majority of us will actively choose to look down. When we give power to our bias and look down, we become blind to moments of possibility. I started to have conversations and conduct research within populations who self-identify with isolation from looking down. Recovering addicts, inmates at correctional facilities, deployed military, and even high school and college freshmen. Those groups who have stopped being seen. I was teaching a class at Columbia University, and 2 of the questions I asked of the students were: 1, when someone you know needs help, how do you help them? And 2, when someone you don't know needs help, do you? One of the students raised his hand and he said, I actually helped someone I didn't know, and it forever changed my life. He shared this story. He said he and his friends were walking out of school one day in the suburbs of Connecticut where they're from. They've walked down that road countless times as they grew up together, went to grade school together, but this time it was different. They weren't alone. A little boy was sitting on the curb by himself. He was described to me as a bit of a loner, a burnout. They could tell he was going through something, but what, they didn't know. They could just tell from afar. The boys gave each other a look. You know that look where everyone is thinking the same thing without saying a word? They walked over to the little boy, and this student had the courage to say the first words. He said, hey, whatever it is, it's okay. It'll be over soon. The boy stopped and looked up. He just stared, speechless. They gave him a pat on the back and a high five to break him out of it and change the mood. He nodded. They walked away. The next day in school, that boy on the curb bravely walked over to their table in the cafeteria. And he said, hey, I just wanted to say thanks for coming over to me yesterday. Oh, man, it's okay, the boys replied. No, you don't understand. When you guys came over, I was contemplating suicide. Because of you, well, I didn't do it. The boys looked up and just stared. This time, they were speechless. In a world where 1 in 10 boys will become depressed by the time they're 14, and for girls, 1 in 4, the Journal of Adolescence found that when teens develop what they call pro-social behaviors, compassion, sharing, caring towards strangers, simply looking up and seeing someone they otherwise wouldn't, developed higher self-esteem within 1 year. Just being seen illuminates human potential. Choosing to stay in your job, choosing to stay on this earth, choosing to love yourself. These greatest gifts begin with the smallest moment. These moments last seconds and then they're gone. What if we took 5 seconds out of our day to recognize another person or another thing we otherwise wouldn't? A colleague at work, a person on your commute, someone when you walk out of the door here today, a simple look, a smile, an extension of your hand, 5 seconds to let someone or something know, I see you. When I started this journey to unlock the power that exists in our hands, my own hand stopped working, and eventually my entire arm. What I initially thought was a hand injury ended up being my cervical spine. Neurological damage prompted the need for immediate surgery, and in a matter of days, my view was changed. But I am blessed. My injury, thankfully, will heal. I'll be able to look down. I'm choosing not to. These moments are all around us, and there is one that will be yours. That 6-year-old little boy won't always be standing on the curb holding a sign waiting for us. Accepting the standard of looking down is counter to the time we live in. We live in a time to be visible, and we have a choice. The need to inoculate ourselves from this cultural epidemic is right now. Thank you.